In 1989, the futurist George Gilder said that the movement toward a quantum economy necessarily means a movement toward an economy of mind. Mindshare is defined as the amount of attention required by something or the time spent thinking about something. When you pay attention, you are engaging in a transaction in the economy of mind. If I say refreshing beverage and you think of Coke, then the Coca-Cola company has successfully acquired some of your mind share. The advertising industry today is a very crude economy of mind. Prior to the Internet and World Wide Web, advertising was mostly a crapshoot. Advertisers had no way of knowing if or how their advertising was performing. Thus the famous quote from the 19th century retailer John Wanamaker, "Half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The trouble is, I don't know which half." With the Internet and the World Wide Web came the ability to actually measure the effectiveness of advertising. And with the ability to measure came the expectation of performance. Here is a simple price-performance chart. The better an ad performs, the more an advertiser is willing to pay. Performance on this chart is expressed as the percentage chance of a sale taking place. The right side of the chart is where an advertiser is 100% certain of making a sale. Ideally, the advertiser knows where and at what cost there is a 100% chance of a sale. With that information, he can go to his or her boss and be able to say, "Give me $100, I'll give you 100 sales." If the price is right, the firm builds that cost into the unit price of the good or service, takes it to market, and then repeats. Unfortunately for the advertiser, getting to that level of certainty is very, very difficult and very, very rare. The reality is that advertisers have to deal at the other end of the chart, where the chance of a sale is 1 in thousands or 1 in millions. This chart describes the ad-supported media environment that exists today. Advertisers are in constant negotiation with media, trying to determine where they sit on this chart. Bear in mind that in today's mindshare market, the advertising industry, even though the commodity being traded is possessed by the consumer is not a participant in this market. Only advertisers and media are participants. This chart gets interesting, however, when the consumer is introduced to the market. Advertising is information about something happening in the marketplace. The more relevant the information is to the consumer, the more he or she will value it. This is the information value of advertising. Consumers will actively seek out information that they perceive is 100% relative to them. Advertisers love it when consumers are actively seeking them out. Their cost is reduced and they get closer to that 100% certainty of a sale. Think of Apple and their most fanatic customers. But not all advertising is 100% relevant to the consumer. Most advertising falls someplace short of 100% relevance, and therefore consumers are not necessarily actively seeking it out. In this case, advertising has to be combined with an incentive to engage the consumer. This is the incentive value of advertising. Now, the big problem with advertising today is that the incentive is not directly connected to ads. Instead, advertising attaches itself to media that entices consumers with content or programming. This disconnection is the reason that there are huge inefficiencies and waste in advertising, and why people like Mr. Wanamaker can't figure out what works and what doesn't. On this chart, the place to be, the place where both advertisers and consumers want to be, is right here, where the combination of information value and incentive value falls below what an advertiser is willing to pay and above what a consumer expects to get. In this space, the consumer and the advertiser enjoy a surplus. And this is where my mindshare sits. Imagine that I'm browsing the web and I come across a blank page with a single hyperlink to some arbitrary, unknown website. Now, I may click on it out of curiosity, But let's say that I've come across this before, and it's pretty unlikely that it goes anywhere meaningful. So I move on. Now imagine I come across a similar page with 2 links on it, except the new link has a 1-cent bid attached to it. Someone is offering me 1 cent to click on the link and look at the website. Do I click on it? No, it's probably not worth my time. What about 5 cents? Again, probably not worth it. What about 10 cents? Well, that's more interesting. I might click on it if I was bored and I had nothing better to do. But at 25 cents, I would definitely click on it. Now, I may be a cheap date at 25 cents. Other people may value their time more, others less. The point is, there's a price at which anyone can be induced to look at a website. That is this point on the mindshare market chart. For me, it's 25 cents. Now, let's introduce some additional information to our list of bids. Let's say that everyone who has clicked on these links gave the websites a rating. Now, that 10-cent bid looks more interesting with a 4-star rating. Whereas before I was ambivalent about it, now I would certainly click on it. The rating indicates that the site might have some information value. This is an illustration of the interplay of incentive value and information value. The greater the information value, the less incentive is needed to get me to visit the website. Now, I'm someone who enjoys fine dining. And let's say that instead of a list of arbitrary links, this is a list of links to high-end restaurants in my area. I would still click on the 25-cent link for 25 cents, even though it has a 1-star rating. Now, I would definitely click on the 10-cent link with the 4-star rating. But now the 1-cent bid with a 5-star rating might be interesting. Whereas before I wouldn't even consider clicking on it, now I might. Now you may ask, who would pay me to visit a website? The fact of the matter is that advertisers pay a lot of money to reach people like me and you. They pay the media or some other form of very expensive and inefficient delivery system, think of the Postal Service and junk mail, to deliver their ads. What mymindshare.com does is cut out the middleman in a transaction that is already taking place. MyMindshare.com is an online marketing system that effectively and meaningfully connects marketers with consumers. It does this by combining a surveying system with a targeting system and a rating system with a bidding system. By harnessing the built-in incentives of the free market, MyMindshare.com aligns the interests of both marketers and consumers so they can get together on equally valuable terms.